who needs no introduction, and it is my indeed pleasure to introduce our second resource person, who is international and national speaker, respected Dr. Atul Pratap Singh. Dr. Atul Pratap Singh sir is an academician and social worker. Before I proceed with introduction, I would like to extend my gratitude to Atul sir to accepting our request and sharing his valuable time. Dr. Atul Pratap Singh is presently working as an assistant professor, Department of Social Work and IQSC, coordinator at Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar College, University of Delhi. Dr. Singh has 22 authored, co-authored, edited, co-edited books. Sir has been associated in various positions in different international, national and state level research projects. Dr. Singh received Best Meritorious Teacher Award from Government of NCT of Delhi in 2012 and prestigious Jan Jagriti Samman of Akhil Bharatiya Swatantra Lekhak Manch, New Delhi in 2013. He has been associated with several learned academic bodies and societies. Dr. Atul Pratap sir is well known as youth mentor and motivator.
A very warm good morning to all the esteemed guests, panelists, my friend viewers, students, ladies and gentlemen. In India, this COVID crisis and lockdown has completed a quarter of the year 2020 actually. However, it is not a matter of celebration because we all are in crisis. And today in this international webinar, I will be speaking on women during COVID-19 effects, prevention and mitigation, which is directly related to your theme actually. And the major highlight would be women employment, grim scenario of violence against women, threats to safety of women and girls during this period, effects of lockdown on women's access to resources. Then I will come up with some observation which I made during this period while sitting at home, working at home, right? And then after I will come up with some recommendations. So what we need to understand is this, lockdown due to COVID-19 has had very hard to women and girls actually, those who are already experiencing social distancing in terms of gender-based discrimination or caste-based discrimination. However, it is not social distancing at all. We, as a social worker internationally, we have rejected this term social distancing. It is called physical distancing with social solidarity. Everybody knows that. Even IFSW also came up with this slogan actually. And the burden is perhaps heaviest to women and girls in general, but more specifically single women, widows, health and sanitation workers, those who are working directly in the field, those who are frontline workers actually, police personnel, those who are female, domestic workers, daily wage earners, imprisoned persons, and even sex workers also, because they are also human beings. We have to talk about them also. And it is a manifestation of power relation, as women has been experiencing victimization due to their social conditioning. I'm using the term social conditioning because traditionally we have adopted a condition for them which is very adverse for them. And as we all know, women have been traditionally underestimated and undervalued in terms of disparities in wages, and this lockdown has added much more value to this, as our learned speaker Dr. Valke was also enlightening upon us on this actually related to tribal women and their employment activities governed by some ideological and gender consideration. This is very much prevalent, especially in third world countries like us actually. And women employment has also gradually increased over a period of time due to rapid urbanization. That fact is very much true actually. Lot of barriers are there, but their employment is being increased over a period of time due to rapid urbanization as well as industrialization actually. As we all know, informal sector is generally the largest source of employment for the women. So majorly, we need to keep our eyes open on this sector, informal sector. However, those who are working in formal sector, they are little secure, but they are facing different kind of, uh, harassment or discrimination that I will discuss later actually. But majorly, if you look at the data of International Labour Organization or NSSO report of 2013, in India, almost 94% of total working women are engaged in informal sector, out of which 20% are working in the urban center. So those who are working in urban center, what we have seen during media report on television news channels, that they were going back to their home. One child was sleeping on a briefcase. That scene we have seen, a lot of trolls were there. People were criticizing government, or on social media, on WhatsApp groups. So we all have seen. There is no surprising what I'm saying actually. And nearly 50% of these women workers are sole supporter to their families. This is the critical one that we need to understand. I think it is well coded in the government of India report actually. But most of these women lack of proper training, that we need to understand, which makes them vulnerable because they are having the less option because of lack of training to them. Because those who are working in informal sector, they are not trained at all. They are either unskilled or semi-skilled. This is what is the scenario, especially in our country. And national domestic worker movement says that the number of domestic workers in India range from official estimate of 4.2 million. This is official figure, and unofficial figure is up to 50 million. That we need to understand, because a lot of domestic workers were at starvation during this period. However, we tried a little bit, being a social work person. We paid them, and we said to them that you stay at home but get your salary. But how many people were doing? We as a social worker may be too much sensitized towards gender aspect, right? Or towards humanity. But how many others were doing this practice? Nobody knows actually. And a study by Apola shows that urban labor market discriminates against women much more than rural area. So urban, area is at threat as far as women existence is concerned in informal sector, right? And the impact on their life, especially in informal sector, has been very disturbing. That we all know. Everybody is talking about. We are having this webinar upon this, so I think we all know about this. Now, I would like to talk about a grim scenario of violence against women in India. As we know, witnessing an unprecedented spike in the reporting of intimate partner violence, and it is very well documented in NCW report, National Commission for Women. They registered an increase of at least 2.5 times, domestic violence complaints during this lockdown. Actually, 2.5 times. It is official data was published in the Hindu on June 15 actually, and between 25th March and May 31st, NCW received 1,477 complaints, and out of which 727 complaints were on WhatsApp, because many women they were not able to go police station during this lockdown. Even staff were not there, and they were not able to access email actually. So they have created a WhatsApp helpline number for them. So these 700, more than 700, complaints were received through WhatsApp helpline number. So we can understand, because these are reported complaints of domestic violence. There are many unreported, and if you look at the scenario of India, many complaints are unreported. We are taking that issue in a hypothetical manner a little bit. A study was conducted by Martha Farrell Foundation in a very rapid fire mode, and it says many women workers have reported being physically beaten for violating lockdown rules. However, they were not violating rules, and on several occasions they were refused to enter into their villages. Those who were, going back to their home, they were forced to, stay in a isolation center or quarantine center. So this was the scenario. Even not only this, frontline health workers have also reported harassment by landlords, as somebody was telling earlier also, right? And neighbors who suspect them for carrying the corona, virus. Many times, that happened actually. And I would like to share one of the example. One of my friend's brother-in-law, he died due to cancer, but their neighbors, they didn't allow them to take this dead body at home, just because of there was a fear, because fear that he may be infected from coronavirus. So that kind of fear was created. I don't know, because I don't want to point out any segment actually. However, during this period, I was continuously watching newspaper and news channels, and a lot of fear and panic was created actually. It is being created actually. So we need to understand. Then women with no access to digital or online services find themselves helpless, because how they will approach to anyone to make their complaints registered, because at police station staff was not there, all were performing their duties on field. So these were the genuine issues and problems. And let's understand what are the various threats to safety and women during this period. I would like to exclusively pointing out this issue. Patriarchal and gender roles at home were dismantled earlier, but may have been reinstated because people are engaged in corona management. Earlier, they were gradually, uplifting them. They are getting their, status better in the society. But perhaps the earlier work status may be reinstated, just because of this corona management is, at the high priority. This is the biggest problem, or doubt, or what I would like to say actually, that must be the prime concern in future. And very surprising, very disheartening to share with you, a returning migrant woman being sexually abused at isolation center. And these three men were posing as doctors, and later she died. So we can understand the grim scenario. What is happening? What is happening in isolation center? Nobody is reporting. No reporter is coming up with such kind of news at all. So who will take care? Who will have the concern about these people? That we need to understand. Being a social worker, I cannot keep my mouth shut. Actually, I have to speak. So safety of women in isolation wards, shelter homes, and quarantine center is of concern that we need to understand. In fact, violence against women may be considered as silent epidemic, as it was evident during Ebola in Africa. It may be considered as silent epidemic, because ultimately, who is the sufferer? Who is the survivor? Women, whether they are sitting at home or they are working. In both the situations, they are facing double-edged, kind of discrimination, marginalization, victimization, etc., etc. Whatever adjective we want to add, we can. Then young girls are in a fear that this crisis will reverse their progress that they have made in equalizing their status in the society, because they are sitting at home, they are not doing anything. So what will happen? They are going back to their earlier status. So they are in a fear, right? Then after, frontline health workers have also reported account of obstruction. And the first and foremost thing, many amongst us might have understood that these health workers were reporting about the bad quality of PPE kits that were distributed to them. Even what is the status in the present scenario? We don't know, because many complaints came. Media reporting was also there about these things. So frontline, health workers are or were the backbone during this period. So we need to take care of them, these people. And the horrible situation for female domestic workers who are often sole earners, because many a times we all know that these domestic workers are the sole earner. Their husbands are either they are drinkers, or they are not doing anything. They are sitting at home. They are engaged in violence against them. So that is a very common in our society. A lot of our maid servants are suffering from all these things. And feeling of insecurity while walking on the road was also there. It was also reported, just because of lack of transportation facility. If you look at, even in Lucknow, I'm right now sitting in Lucknow, and even in Delhi, metro is not there. Very restricted public transport is available to them. Trains are not, only few trains are operational, otherwise they are not functional at all. So people are facing trouble, especially those who are vulnerable. Then another very important aspect that I would like to highlight is sexual harassment of women at workplace has been taking new form and expression, as this workplace have been redefined due to this work at home culture. Anyone can make a call at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., do this, or even I am receiving email at 12 at 1 a.m. at night.
Yeah.
So we need to understand what is the situation. We need to relook about the this work culture of work, working from home. What would be the shape of sexual harassment at workplace? Because right now those who are working from home, their workplace is home, right? So anytime anyone can give instruction, direction, or sometimes threat also. So it is being happening actually. Now let's have a look about what are the effects of lockdown on women's access to essential services, and the impact of lockdown will be more prominently visible after it is lifted. Actually, this is what I believe. Actually, it is maybe my assumption, but I think our Dr. Balke sir was also reflecting upon this. If I'm not wrong, actually. That is very true. Actually, we need to understand, once it will be lifted, a lot of trouble will come, because not less than 12 to 20 crore people will lose their job. This is my initial estimate. Maybe it may increase or decrease. I don't know what will be future, because it is my prima facie assumption, you can say. And there has been a severe lack of focus on women's sexual and reproductive health services. It is very disheartening. A country like ours, which registers average of 50,000 births per day, where these maternal services were severely affected during this period. Therefore, women were unable to visit to doctors. They were making call, consulting them. So that was the scenario. They were totally unable to, go for, regular checkups to the hospital. Many hospitals were locked. They were shut down during this period. We need to understand. And then the same thing happened in Africa during Ebola outbreak in 2014. Maternal and health clinics across the Africa were closed, resulting in a 70% increase in maternal mortality rate over there. So we have to have a study after this period, what is right now the maternal mortality rate. Then we can understand the situation, I think. Due to this crisis, within the families, nutritional and their developmental needs are badly ignored. Actually, we need to understand that fact. And Access to governmental sponsored relief and entitlements such as old age or widow pension, direct emergency fund transfer, bank accounts to the bank account, and dry ration collection was also very challenging to women. Somebody was reflecting about, they were not having ration card, those who are migrated, how they will collect. Now our nation, I will discuss later about one nation, one ration card. But now government has announced last month that they will come up with that actually. So and very interestingly, we need to understand we can take this data from a report of Government of India, men and women in India. In rural area, 37% of bank accounts are held by female population, whereas in semi-urban, urban and metropolitan area, around 34% females are having their bank accounts. So what would be the status of emergency cash transfer? We can understand. We have to look into it. And we are shouting upon, bank account, Jan Dhan and all. So we need to understand this fact. What is the reality actually? Not reality, but bitter reality. I am not criticizing to government because government is also having limited resources. They are trying to do their level best. So I don't want to make any allegation to them. Now I would like to highlight upon some of my key observations. So the situation in high density urban slum is vastly different from rural area. We need to understand, we cannot imagine physical distancing in Dharavi slum because this conference is being held in Maharashtra. Dharavi is a place where we cannot imagine. So what would be the practicality and what was the practicality, we need to understand. And in all the urban areas, we have created lot of slums. So how we will ensure physical distancing over there? We cannot at all. So double standard should not be there. We need to understand. Household dynamics are changing and informal workers, women farmers and small business owners are threatened with a loss of livelihood. I think all the speakers have reflected upon this. And women's sudden lack of resources and mobility restriction changes power dynamics within the family. Obviously, this is the big cause of violence against them during this period. Actually. We need to understand, right? A paucity of authentic data on the same is a glaring gap that threatens to disregard the experiences of women. We don't have any data. All the journalists and anchors in a very glorified manner, they were shouting upon migrant for a month, and nobody was addressing the issue of women, of gender. Nobody was collecting data upon that, or authentic data actually, because they don't have that skill to do that. Only social scientists can do that. However, at the time of election, they are coming up with several data. So what kind of double standard is there, we need to understand. However, I am not criticizing to anyone. Anyway, so with this pandemic, the focus has shifted from sexual and reproductive health to COVID management only. Our prime focus is upon COVID management. Rest of others are badly ignored. Senior citizens, older women, widows, they are ignored totally. So we need to understand, at least there should be a proper balance. Only COVID management who are suffering from chronic diseases. Who will take care of them? Hospitals were shut down. However, now they are open.
नेट नहीं गया.
We need to understand this thing. And the most importantly, my observation is change in self-perception is being created, like loss of dignity due to inhuman conditions in quarantine centers. Because they may develop change in self-perception, loss of dignity. Because if I'll be forced to sit in a quarantine center, what are the conditions that I have to suffer? A few days back, I was traveling and I was in a fear because advisory came that I had to be in quarantine for 7 days and they will paste a poster on my house. So I was scared. I was thinking that it will be a social stigma without being symptomatic actually. So you know that is also that nobody is reflecting upon self perception during this period. They may develop their own disrespect in their own way actually. So I'll be moving towards recommendation, and I would be failing in my duty if I will not offer a recommendation upon this. So there are certain recommendations, especially what can be done as immediate measures. Then after I will reflect upon few couple of measures that would be in a long-term manner. So we must encourage gender focus in all COVID-based research studies. This I would like to say, being an academic, and all the participants, those who are watching, are from academic. So we must encourage gender focus on the research actually. After COVID, once we will take up that. Please keep mute everybody. Lot of noise is there. I'll take 5 minutes more actually. And we must adopt these for COVID measures must be gender sensitive. This is very much needed. I don't think right now all the advisories are gender sensitive to that extent actually. Lot of efforts must be needed actually in this regard. And in, increase availability of delivery of healthcare services. However, hospitals are open, but we don't know. And proper medical supplies and medication for women is also important because during this period, due to lockdown, in a first to third lockdown phase, there was a shortage of medicine. We were struggling even to get sanitizer, to get disinfectant also. We are using hugely. Women sitting at home, they are arranging this thing for everybody. Please keep unmute everybody. Lot of noise is there. Then there is a need to ensure gender disaggregated information related to people who are returning migrants, the homeless, informal workers, among frontline defenders of health crisis. Because we don't have male-female data, therefore we are unable to, explore their problems in a very accurate manner. This is what is important that we need to have. Then local governance institution, women's group, students, youth leaders must be enabled to ensure safety for women. All have to, engage into that. The leadership of women in self-help group must be recognized, promoted, and nurtured accordingly, so that they can at least protect themselves. So, very important, right? Then strengthening the structure of equipment for frontline health workers is also imperative, because 70% are females actually. So this is the prime area where we have to take.
डॉक्टर अतुल प्रताप सर तुमचं हे म्यूट करा सर.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. So I was telling that our Honorable Prime Minister came up with a Atmanirbhar package of 20 lakh crore rupees, which includes additional allocation for Manrega and reforms in agriculture and allied sector, PM Garib Yojana, and one nation, one ration card, credit facility to small vendors. Here, women must be a priority. This is what I would like to, say that. And now I'm going to talk about very few. I will take hardly 1.5 minutes to complete my presentation. Some, measures after lockdown, what we have to do actually. And these are women's entry into labor market is an important route for their development and empowerment. We cannot ignore this idea. We should encourage, we should promote them, because rest of other dimensions and aspect of empowerment will be meaningless if they are not economically empowered. So we have to encourage them, we have to promote them, and for this we have to protect their wages, their income. And economic investment in the post lockdown is should be focused on those sectors where women are working heavily. But here, researches are required to be done, actually. And at the end, I would like to say that only by working towards structural changes, we can radically decrease the extent of harm that caused by this corona crisis. And mm, now, at my end, the closing remark is, um, we need to have a distinction between welfareism and empowerment, because our politicians, bureaucrats are unable to understand. Still, we are in a welfare mode. If we are not changing our orientation about what is empowerment and how it is different from welfareism, there is a cocktail or mocktail of welfareism and empowerment. This is one. Number two is, what we are doing and what we are practicing should be the same. What I am speaking over here, I try to practice it. My wife is also watching this program. If I will differ what I am practicing, she will pick my collar immediate after this presentation. You can understand. So with this, thank you very much for patiently listening. And I'm extremely happy that you have invited for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You are given original situations of Indian women faced by in the COVID-19 period.
Uh, we're taking question hours or no? We're taking some 2-3 questions from participants.
Yeah,
I would like to appeal all the participants. Please ask some questions to the dignitaries. If you have 1 or 2 questions, please.
Hello.
Answer. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. Sir. Yes. Sir, you can speak.
Hello. I am Dr. Lokhande from Pune University.
Yes.
Hello. My question is that after pandemic COVID-19, those women workers are working as a housemaid in some urban area. But nowadays there are so many problems while we are watching the interviews and all the things on the TV and media. But as a social work profession, is there any action program for them? What to do in future also for themselves and their family, their sons, and all the things? Please, we this forum also. No problem at all. Thank you very much.
Dr. Atul Singh, sir, please. Can you explain?
Till now, I don't have any information that any school of social worker is working in this regard or not. But I know one of the organization I have taken its name actually while I was addressing, Martha Farrell Foundation of Delhi, which is a sister concern of Priya organization, which is one of the renowned in the country actually. They are working with these, domestic workers. So they are working with them. They have published a report also. They are working, and few professional social workers are associated with them. But honestly, till now, I don't have any information that any school of social workers is exclusively working for domestic workers. However, we should go for it, because what we have, experienced during this period is most of the social workers, especially educators, they are only engaged in, webinars. There is a mushrooming of webinars during these days. While sitting in air-conditioned room, I think we cannot achieve anything if we are not coming to ground actually. So this is what is more important rather than, speaking. If any question is there, you can take. Otherwise, people will make complaint. In a feedback,
I have no.
section.
I have no any questions, but I think the participants
Okay.
side.
You can give a final call if somebody wants, because what will happen? People are sitting right from 10:30, no? So if somebody will be left, so it doesn't look nice actually.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can request participants. Yeah. Yes.
Hello, good evening,
hello?
sir.
Sir, one
Good morning, sir.
sir, one question. Hello.
Yeah, asking.
Hello,
Yes, someone is
good morning,
asking.
sir.
Yeah, please.
This is Ashwini, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Ashwini, PhD scholar from Delhi University.
Sir, please.
I have a question like, we are talking about in this situation women, and we are just now like both Atul sir and Wagle sir was talking about the related migration. So, sir, Atul sir, could you please kindly more tell you about like now we are talking about like the phases of reverse migration. Now they are talking like they are reverse migration. So, what will be the condition related to the women to the particular issue if they go back to the same areas and all?
Ashwini is luckily my scholar actually. Good to see you here. I would like to address. I would love to answer to your question actually. Actually, the problem is we right now don't know what will happen once this lockdown would be absolutely lifted, because today our Prime Minister will address, I think, at 4 p.m. So what he will say, we don't know. What would be the advisory in future, we don't know, right? So and at the same time, a couple of states, they have announced that they are withdrawing labor laws. So to what extent it will be withdraw, what will happen? I think it would be too hypothetical to say anything about it, but we should have a prime concern to protect them. This is what is the nail that we should keep in mind actually. This is what otherwise the rest of things would be very hypothetical. Suppose if I am expecting my Raj Mistri to repair my house, whether he will come or not, I don't know. So if I can offer him something protective, right, as a measures, so once he will appear, so they will decide now whether they will go back or not. Many of the street shop owners and other people, they were going to their place, they are taking them through their own vehicles or offering them AC third class or second class tickets. So that is there, but they are in a fear. What I was telling earlier in the earlier question, that they were finding a psychological space, right? So that psychological aspect is very much important. And ma'am earlier in her concluding remarks, she was telling about counseling. So counseling is very important. That is the key. Apart from providing them food or dry food or whatever, because from next month onward, this food grain distribution will be over actually. Government is not going to distribute. But at the same time, their psychological treatment is also very important. Huh? So once we will, remove that fear, so things will be normal. Even I'm in a fear right now. Every day, once I go outside, I come back and take a bath and put all my clothes in the washing machine.
Yes, sir.
So that kind of fear is there, right? So it will take time gradually, but we have to be very positive. I hope I satisfied you.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah, Atul sir, got the question here. How women manage mentally when they suffer a lot, both physically and mentally?
Yeah.
They are emotionally, mentally very strong, but due to their social conditioning, they are forced to be vulnerable. This is what I believe actually.
Yeah, that is the reality.
Right. So I think that is not a problem. Don't tag this stigma to women. Actually, you and me also must understand that during this lockdown period, they were a double-edged, burden of household on the one hand, and work from home at the same time. Those who are in formal sector. If I take example of my wife, she was doing her work at home because maid was not there, and at the same time she was taking classes, right? So that means she was performing her professional task as well as task at home, right? So all the women, those who are working, whether they are in formal sector or informal sector, this can only come through their emotional strong, gesture actually. So I don't think they are emotionally. Don't call them, vulnerable. I have never used this term during my presentation. I never call them vulnerable because this is an abuse to women. At least women should understand they are not vulnerable at all. They are stronger than men. So why do we need to call them vulnerable? Why do we need to call them emotionally, mentally weak? They are not at all. We are not ready to give them opportunity actually, or we are somehow, creating an adverse environment for their upliftment and, their empowerment. Therefore, we create obstacles to them. Look at the status in parliament. Still, we are struggling for their, 33% reservation. No political party is, supporting or advocating because it is in our favor. We want to be like a decision maker. So their status is there just because of their social conditioning that we have created due to patriarchal mindset actually. So I don't think they are mentally, in distress. Thank you.